G'day, I'm Bryce Robertson from Cultivate Collective, and I just wanted to share with you quickly my story compressed into about 5 minutes of my journey so you can understand a little bit better about who I am. So again, my name is Bryce Robertson. I'm a native of Australia, and I grew up in the east coast of Australia, just north of Brisbane. And I got to near the end of high school, and I realized there is not a chance I was going to go to university. I wasn't feeling it. I wasn't feeling called or compelled in that direction. I really wasn't getting much satisfaction out of the education that was provided at high school anyway. And also simultaneously at the time, I had absolutely zero influence in business and entrepreneurship. So I made the best decision that I thought I could make at the time, and that was to go out there and to get the highest paying blue collar job that I could. So I went out and researched the different ways to make money blue collared. I figured out that being a welder fabricator was one of the top ways to get paid. So I went out and got an apprenticeship as a steel fabricator welder. And then I took a 5-year apprenticeship and I compressed it into 3 years because I was super motivated. And then I became qualified. And then I ended up moving out to Western Australia to work in the underground gold mines, because that's where you can earn the biggest money doing welding and steel fabrication in Australia. And so I was working 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, a lot of the times 8 weeks on, 1 week off. And I did this type of cycle for about 2 years through Western Australia and Northern Territory. And then I'd saved up a little chunk of cash because I had a dream. And my dream was to travel the world for 6 years. Now, I didn't have enough money to actually travel the world for 6 years. I just had enough money to get started. So I quickly went to Thailand, had some fun there. And then I went over to London, England, when I set up my first base camp. And here's how I actually set myself up. So set myself up in London, England to work. And I would work 10 to 12 hours a day, 5 to 7 days a week, saving up cash for about 3 to 5 months until I had a little chunk of cash saved up, enough to go traveling through Europe. And then I traveled through Europe until, you guessed it, until my money ran out. And then I came back to my base camp again and started earning more money. And then this time I went to Africa. And then I went and traveled in Africa until, you guessed it again, until my money ran out. And then I came back. And I kept doing this UK, Europe, and Africa cycle for 3 years until I wanted to change the scenery. So after that, I went over and I set up my second base camp over in Fernie, British Columbia, Canada. And Fernie, it's a little ski village. About 5,000 people live there. It's in the Rocky Mountains in British Columbia, Canada. And I originally went there just to go for snowboarding season, but I really loved it so much. And I got into my snowboarding so much. And then I realized when I was there, I had no idea before I went, but there's a coal mines about half hour down the road. There was like 5 or 6 coal mines there. So I started up my own little gig out in the coal mines there. And then I ended up staying in that area for about 2 years. And so I was working and earning as much money as I could. And then when I wasn't working, I was snowboarding, downhill mountain biking, firefighting, or was at the gym or running, and just, tons of exercise, and in really, really enjoying the outdoor mountainous activities. And because I had all of those mountain activities going on, I didn't really travel through that period. I pretty much stayed in that area, apart from a few snowboarding road trips that we took. But I generally stayed in that area, which enabled me to save an even bigger chunk of cash this time. So big so that it enabled me after that to take an 18-month surfing and scuba diving trip down in Central and South America. And in the last 6 months of that surfing and scuba diving trip, that's where I met my wife, Tiff, who's a native of California. And so then naturally we ended up back here in the States. And that was about 2010 when I moved over here. And when that happened, my wife and I made a commitment with each other that we wanted to recreate this type of freedom lifestyle of traveling and living free and doing what we want to do, except this time we wanted to add 2 extra things. Number one, we wanted to do it so our money didn't run out. And number two, we wanted to do it so our money was actually growing while we were traveling and having fun and living free the way we wanted to live. And so we looked at the three main ways that we could make big bucks, and that's owning a business, real estate, and the stock market. And I believe that cryptocurrencies fits in that stock market category these days, but it wasn't really a thing back then. So we started looking at all of those three ways. And in those three main categories, we had about 7 different side hustles that we were working on how we could become entrepreneurs. We were working to fix and flip homes. We were working with Forex on the stock exchange. We were multi-level marketing. We were trying to start up a construction business that we inherited from my wife's father. And we had a few other little hustles going on as well. And progressing forwards with that, thinking, hey, something's going to take off soon. But then I realized I was spreading myself way too thin. I was having mediocre success. I was spinning plates and I was worn out. So I realized, hey, this isn't working. I have to change my strategy here. So I decided to laser focus on one thing until I was extremely successful at that thing. And then after that, I could branch out. So what I chose was to do something in real estate. But real estate's a big world. And, at that time, I'd had a 20-year background in construction and construction management. So it was very clearly a choice that real estate was for me. But what am I to do? So I looked at all the different ways that we can make money in real estate. I looked at fixing and flipping. I looked at buy and holding. I looked at long-term rentals, short-term rentals, self-storage, multifamily apartments, mobile home parks, notes. I looked at a whole kit and caboodle of real estate strategies. And the one thing that kept popping off the page to me was mobile home parks. Massive supply and demand in favor of mobile home park owners, getting to contribute to America's #1 real estate problem, the need for affordable housing. Excellent tax benefits, high cash flow, high returns comparative to other real estate asset classes and strategies. I was in. So I decided that's what I'm going to focus on. I'm going to put all my eggs in one basket and move forward. I put that out there. Interesting thing that happened as soon as I put that out there, the universe tested me. And all of a sudden I had these other deals coming, multifamily apartment deals, single family deals. And I did what I said I was going to do. And I said no to all of those opportunities and just laser focused on mobile home parks. Then 3 months later, I had my first mobile home park under contract. However, I was not in the position that you would think that I needed to be in to get that deal closed and push it across the finish line. Because at the time I had a negative net worth, I had $2,000 in the bank, and I had unseasoned credit. So I went out there and I leaned on family and friends to bring some capital into the deal, to fund the deal. And 3 months later, we ended up closing the deal with a few friends that brought in the money that was needed to close on that deal. And then when we closed on that deal, 2 things happened. Number one, I felt like I was 10 foot tall and realized I could do much bigger things than what I originally thought I could do. And number two, I realized that there was a lot of value in bringing deals to the table, doing most of the work, and having investors come in and join me in those investments. I realized there was a lot of value in that. And in our industry, that's called syndication. And so over the next 2.5 years after I closed on that first mobile home park, I ended up rinse and repeating this syndication model, going out there, doing bigger and better deals, bringing in more investors. And then after 2.5 years, my wife and I had the fortune of retiring ourselves and becoming financially free. And we no longer had to work because we were forced to. Now we work because we choose to, not because we have to. And that created a lot of differences in our life. So when we became financially free, a massive paradigm shift happened for me. And here's a few things that happened. Number one, I no longer was making decisions based off financial reasons or out of necessity or survival mode of I have to do that to earn money. It was a very different experience to experience, hey, I'm making a decision because this is literally what I want to do, or it's what I not want to do. And I'm going to decide either way, yes or no. That's how I'm going to make my decisions because I have the freedom. I don't have the downward pressure of finances actually influencing whatever my decision is going to be. Another thing that happened is I looked back at the last 20 years of my life in the construction industry and having not a great deal to show for it after I was done with it. And then I looked at 2.5 years in real estate, something that I really, really enjoy. And I'm living free and I'm having this amazing life. And I just felt really, really compelled to share that with other people, not necessarily so that they can rinse and repeat my exact story verbatim, but so people can create freedom in their life, financial freedom, time freedom, location freedom. That's the freedom trinity. And so to create these freedoms in other people's lives, in their version on how it wants to look for them based off what their highest values and their highest needs and desires and goals are. So I went out there and I started teaching people about mobile home park investing. I started hosting live events, bus tours, multi-day events. Then those turned into home study courses. Then I started teaching people about raising capital, again, doing it live. And then that turned into a home study course. I started writing articles for Bigger Pockets so I could help more real estate investors out there achieve financial freedom. I wrote a book with a group of mates. We're called the Real Estate Mates, and we wrote a book called 10,000 Miles to the American Dream. And it's essentially, it's 8 people that we met. We're all Australians. We didn't know each other in Australia, but we moved over to the States and we created financial freedom through real estate. But all 8 of us had different ways that we did it in real estate. And so collectively in the book, we share all of the 8 ways that we achieved financial freedom. And we share a lot of our financial freedom stories in there. So that's 10,000 Miles to the American Dream. After that, I started going on a lot of podcasts and putting a lot of information out there. Then I started hosting my own podcast, Freedom Hack Radio, where we explore the freedom trinity of financial, time, and location freedom with a foundation of growth and balance in health, relationships, spirituality, and having fun. So I have industry leading experts in all of those areas. Join me on Freedom Hack Radio. We have a lot of really juicy conversations and give away a lot of golden nuggets on freedom. And I just put a whole education platform out there because I became really, really compelled to share with people what it is to be financially free, how you can achieve it, and all the different ways to do it. And I feel really fortunate because since then, my business has massively grown, massively exponentially grown and flourished. And, our core focus has been mobile home parks and self-storage. For our mobile home parks and self-storage, we do our own in-house property management through our Innovate Collective property management company. We do all of our asset management through Cultivate Collective. And that's our bread and butter. But we also bring out their other alternative investments where we team up or we have joint ventures with other really successful operators who specialize in what they do. And we team up with them. And then we've brought a lot of those deals to our investment group as well. So those kinds of deals over the years we have brought some multifamily apartments to the table. We don't necessarily do that so much these days. Given where we are in our economic cycle and because our firm really revolves around recession resistance. We also bring to the table automatic teller machines, Bitcoin teller machines, Bitcoin mining, debt validation funds, We're working on some cannabis cultivation projects, some medical marijuana investments. We have a whole other variety of investments as well. So I feel very fortunate to be in this position. We help a lot of investors. We've currently got about 700 private investors in our Cultivate Collective inner circle who have access to all of these deals and all of these investments. And I feel really compelled to share all of this financial freedom wisdom through education with our people, and also some investment options for people to create financial freedom in their life, so then that can turn around and end up equating to the real freedom that we want in our life, is the time to do the things that we want to do, spending the time how we want to spend, spending money on the things that we want to do, making a difference and a change in the world, and sharing our gifts in the way that we want to share them. And if you don't have money and if you're not financially free, you have very limited abilities to be able to do that. So hopefully this was a helpful little message, getting to understand me a little bit better, what we do, how we operate, and I'm looking forward to helping you out in any way that I possibly can. Thank you.